Hey there, and welcome to this episode of Mike Reviews Military Stuff. I'm your host, Mike B., and I will be giving my opinion today on the U.S. rifle caliber 30 M1, better known as the M1 Garand. So, this was used by the United States forces from 1941 through the Vietnam War in some capacities, a sniper rifle role. We gave a lot of these to the South Vietnamese forces too, and other forces around the world. But this was used by us for a decent amount of time, about 20, a little around 20 years, right? And it was used by way more countries than that. I can't even list the amount of countries. Italy used these. Germany in some capacity after World War II used these. Like I said, South Vietnam, South Korea, a lot of countries use this particular rifle. So it's a pretty widely known rifle. It's decent enough. This video is not going to be really about the total history of it, but it's going to be kind of a fun ranking thing. That's my opinion, and shouldn't be taken as a fact. This is just kind of what I would, rank it if I had to, which I have to because I'm making a video on it. Why the hell would I not have to? Anyway, so we're going to start with the rankings really quick. You guys should be pretty familiar with this, but this is going to be the first military firearm I actually review. I'll be doing firearms. I'll be doing helmets, gear, body armor, canteens, mask kits, you name it. So it's going to be a pretty cool series, I think. I'll keep it going. You guys seem to be liking it so far, so I'll keep making them. Anyway, I'm looking at my little checklist so I stay on track, right? Number 4, the aesthetic ranking. So this is a very aesthetically pleasing rifle in my opinion. I don't know if it's because it is so well known around the world or if it's just aesthetically pleasing. I think it looks very cool. It's got the rear sight is just iconic, and then the front sight, and you've got the whole look of it, the big bulky, World War II U.S. GI's plight, just a great looking rifle. So for the aesthetic ranking, I'm going to actually give this an 8 out of 10. That's solely my opinion, just based on the way I think it looks pretty, right? Or it doesn't look pretty. It looks pretty in the respect of it looks rugged, like an American piece of equipment would. It doesn't look super classy and pristine and very sophisticated and fancy. It's just simple. It looks like it works, and it looks like it's made for them to give an ass beating to whoever they're going against. So that's going to be an 8 out of 10 for aesthetic ranking. Now, the practicality and usefulness. This can be applied to both when it was used and today. So this is going to be a very wide range of years. And there's going to be several factors that affect this, so this might take a little bit because it's such a popular rifle even today. The practicality back in 1941 was actually quite high because most countries at that point were still using bolt-action rifles, including the United States, who also used the bolt-action rifles, the 1903 and the 1917. Alongside this, however, as many troops, especially Army troops, were issued these as quickly as possible to get more firepower out there. There are advantages to the U.S. doctrine of suppressing fire with riflemen. The riflemen are capable of it, and then moving and communicating and all that stuff and killing. That's the U.S. doctrine. German doctrine was you have machine guns for suppressive fire, and your infantry, your riflemen, are going to be taking accurate, concise, aimed shots with their bolt-action rifles. Doesn't mean it was a bad doctrine. Obviously, it was very effective, but that's how most of the other militaries in the world were operating at that time, which gave the U.S. an upper kind of advantage at the beginning, right? So as far as the practicality goes and the usefulness in the beginning, it's quite high. It's probably an 8 out of 10. Now, the practicality of the rifle, as far as the design of, the 8-round end block that's loaded from the top, and if you're doing it at an empty chamber, you run the risk of getting the Garand thumb. It doesn't usually happen loading it normally, but I already made videos on that. I don't need to get into a pissing match discussion with you, but that is a possibility of soldiers getting hurt with inspection arms and stuff, which is kind of, why would you want a weapon that can hurt somebody and prevent them from doing their job, even if it's in training? And only having 8 rounds and only being able to load it with the end block and not a removable magazine like it was originally designed to take 20-round BAR magazines. That's going to lower this down a little bit to about a 6 out of 10 for practicality and usefulness. The target sights. Americans are very, very notorious for putting really intricate target sights on a battle rifle. They're not battle sights. Like a German K98 has battle sights. It's really quick and easy to acquire. It's very open. You don't have to focus really hard. It's just you basically aim and shoot. You can use both eyes very easily. Now with U.S. target sights, they're a ghost ring or an aperture in the back, or on the 1903, but on the A3 there was an aperture. And it's a very small front sight. Well, it's actually big, but the relief, it makes it look like it's a very small front sight, so it's very precise. Americans love target sights. We're known for our marksmanship. We shoot very long distances quite frequently out here. We have since our inception, even before we were an actual country. So that lives on the target sights. However, is that super practical in a combat setting? That is totally subjective. I find them okay. A lot of people don't like them and find them very hard to use. So we're going to actually just take that into consideration and not let that affect the number, so we're still sitting at a 6 out of 10. Now, practicality and usefulness. Going on now that this is a civilian rifle and it was used all over the country or all over the world and stuff like that. We're going to be talking post-U.S. use and kind of post other people's use, even though there are still countries that use these for ceremonial purposes and whatnot. The usefulness of the amount of deer this thing has killed from people that grab them or just go out and have fun and teach people how to shoot. The civilian marksmanship program before they became a place where, people hoarded stuff and, flipped it for 3 times as much when the CMP was out, which is why I don't think it's a good thing anymore. But whatever, you guys can get mad at me for that, but that's a whole separate video that I can go on a rant about. Anyway, the civilian marksmanship program, which this originally came from back in the 80s, is a very good thing, and I think this makes the rifle very useful in its own way, not just in a military setting. Introducing and actually making people love to shoot firearms in a sporting setting, which is great. Usefulness today as a battle rifle, I think there are worse options, and I think there are a lot better options. This is definitely dated because of the 8-round end block, and the cartridge itself, it does have some recoil to it. A 30 caliber, a 30-06 has got some oomph to it, and yes, these do recoil. That whole fallacy of, they don't recoil because they're so heavy and they have a recoil spring. It's just a different kind of recoil, but there's still a lot of recoil to it. So if you haven't shot one, you should probably do that before you say that, because it doesn't have that much recoil in Call of Duty. Anyway, the usefulness is going to jump up a little bit to a 7 out of 10 for practicality and usefulness. And that's not a bad number at all. It's just that there are some major drawbacks that were inherent from the inception of this adoption. That should have, again, that box magazine should have been a thing. Definitely should have been a thing. This whole, it's a video on, it's political stuff, just kind of like the AR-15 becomes the M16. Anyway, that's why this gets a 7 out of 10 for practicality and usefulness. All right, that's probably going to take the longest on the rankings. 7 out of 10. Quality/durability. Yes. So, just like most American weapons, this thing is built to get the shit beat out of it and still be working. These things are meant to be dropped, kicked, thrown, hurled, used as a weapon, and then still keep on going. The quality is not, again, it's not very pretty, I guess. It's not very elegant is the word I was looking for before. But the quality is very good. The U.S. is pretty decent at manufacturing weapons and other equipment when it wants to be. This is an example of a decent quality. The stock is a nice, thick, robust stock. It's very comfortable. There's not a lot of sharp edges on here, which is really good when you get dumb people using weapons. It's bad enough you can almost hurt yourself in here, but yeah, it's a pretty smooth weapon. So yeah, the quality and durability, and I've heard of conditions that these were in that, they didn't do as well as you want them to, but they still performed, obviously. So quality, durability, I'm going to also give a 7 out of 10. Just because there were some drawbacks with cold weather, especially in the Korean War, but some in World War II in the European theater. But there were some drawbacks to the quality and durability of the weapon. Another thing is the op rod can get bent, which makes your rifle inoperable, basically, if you use ammo that's either underloaded or overloaded, which is a possibility when you're using military ammunition. Durability as well, the stocks were known to break if you drop them, even though they're robust and thick. If you use them or whatever, they can break, and it's just, the barrels do wear out, the sights can come loose, things like that. Springs with any weapon, that's why it's not below a 7. So, quality and durability, 7 out of 10. The next one is the originality of the design. Yes, it's a really cool design. It's a long stroke piston, which is something that was still new in the early 20th century. This is going to be one of the better versions of it that was widely used for so long. So the originality of design, John Garand, the Canadian guy that saw the light and decided to come down to the U.S. where he could actually make money and be successful and get recognized for his work. I know, Canada, we love you guys. We just have to make fun of you a little bit sometimes. Don't get too butthurt. It's okay. But anyway, yeah, so very smart dude. I just wish he would have given in on a lot of the political stuff and, like, again, not using the magazine. Really cool design. I think it was ahead of its time. I really do. And a lot of weapons were kind of designed using the overall concept. So originality of design, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. He originally designed it in a different caliber, but then the U.S. wanted to keep the same caliber. I think it would have been better in a little bit less powerful caliber. That's my opinion, but that's with any semi-automatic rifle. So, yeah, definitely an 8 out of 10 for originality of design. The sights, just the receiver itself. It's a work of art. It's a really intricate yet simple rifle. The modern cost for somebody that wants to collect or shoot this, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 10. And here's why. And I'm sorry this video is going so long, but this is a very important one, right? The modern cost of these is ridiculous. And it doesn't have to be. That's what pisses me off and why I give it a 2 out of 10. It's nothing against the rifle itself. It's a decent rifle. It's not $1,000 minimum rifle to me. There were literally millions of these things made. Millions of these things are still floating around the U.S., but people seem to want to hoard them and just value them really a lot more than what I think they're easily a $500 rifle. Easily a $500 rifle. They're not, like a Mosin they got where it's a couple $100 or sub $100 a few years ago. Easily a $500 rifle. For some more rare manufacturers and stuff, $800 to $1,000 is not out of the realm. But a new shooter should be able to, again, get one of these for an affordable price. $500 for a new shooter is not out of the question. It's the price of a modern, hunting rifle with a okay scope on it. So that should not be that as high as it is. It definitely shouldn't. And the only reason it's so low is because it doesn't have to be that high, but it is. And that's what angers me. So we'll give that a 2 out of 10 for modern cost. All right, so here's what we got for the final numbers right here. And we're going to wrap up this video. I know I spoke too long, but there's a lot of things to cover and kind of some things that I'm just talking about with this particular rifle. I like the M1. It's a good rifle. There are definitely a lot worse designs, and it was pretty cool for its time. I think it was outdated fairly quickly with other, box magazine or removable weapons, and I think they should have just stuck with this with a 20-round magazine instead of an M14. But that's a whole other topic and whatever. So, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed the rest of my content and like the kind of fun platform that this provides, with little reviews and stuff like that, me giving my opinion on firearms and other military stuff, you can actually help me make more content by becoming a Patreon supporter or joining the channel on YouTube and becoming a member. Or Teespring if you like to get tangible things and don't want to do Patreon or whatever. Link to that is in the description. Link to Patreon is in the description. You can hit the join button below for becoming a YouTube channel member. All methods of support help me be able to fund stuff that I wouldn't normally be able to fund just out of pocket. Like I was able to get this recently, and it's another reason I put the price at 2, because I overpaid for this. I know I did, but I wanted it. It's a Winchester. I've always wanted a Winchester. It's in good enough shape, and it's a December of 1944 dated one. So I did pay, more than I should have for that, but that is my problem. Anyway, that helps me be able to afford stuff like this and other things to make historical content, doing shooting videos, ballistic tests, you name it. If you haven't seen my other videos, a lot of these cost a lot of money to make. This year, I'm going to be doing some really cool stuff thanks to my Patreon supporters and channel members and all that stuff and all the support I've gotten in the past couple of years. So, if you can't support the channel financially, I totally get that. You can obviously support the channel by, you guessed it, liking the video, subscribing if you haven't already, and sharing this video if you think it was interesting and you think it could spark up some discussion or some potential interest in history or shooting sports or whatever. So that would be great too if you can do that. That's all I've got on this video. Let me know what you think, if you agree, if you don't. I mean, it's not, again, it's my opinion. It's not really a fact. Good rifle, fun video, and I'll keep them coming as long as you guys keep asking for them. Well, you don't actually have to ask for them. I probably just keep them coming, but positive feedback always helps. Stop rambling. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode of Mike Reviews Military Stuff.